Hello and welcome back to Hal Tech TV. Today we have a video review for you on SilverStone's ML07 HTPC oriented case. Now I just want to give you a little bit of background information on this particular case. If you haven't seen the unboxing, you can go and see that now. The link will be down below for that. But a little bit of background information about this case. It's based on the RVZ01. What I mean by that is the interior has been taken from the RVZ01 and it's been given a new face. So the exterior design, basically the front panel and the sides, they're different. The interior is exactly the same as the RVZ01. Now what does that mean for you as an end user, as someone who wants to buy this product? Basically, the RVZ01 is from the Raven series, so it's a gaming case, which means that the interior of this case, a HTPC case, has been taken from a gaming case, a high-end gaming case, should I say, which means that this case is going to be able to fit about as much in it as you could possibly imagine. You know, full-length graphics cards, water cooling, you know, whatever. We'll get into it further into the review, but basically what you're going to find inside is the best layout possible, given the size of the case and given the dimensions. So it's not just your standard case. So let's go in and take a look at the ML07, starting with the exterior. So here we've got the front of the ML07. Now, some information about this. We have a steel chassis with plastic sides and a plastic front. So this front here is made of plastic, unfortunately. That's not something I particularly like. I do prefer aluminium. I do prefer just any sort of metal front, whether it's a grille or a flat aluminium design, or even maybe a kind of a soft touch design. But I don't really like plastics. They are very Marmite. They can work really well or they can completely fail. In this particular case, the type of plastic, because if you can see on the front, you've got a bit of fingerprints there, on the front you have a flat portion, kind of the base portion, with a band that goes around both side panels and the front here. That is made with a brushed aluminium look to it, just on the bands here, with the rest being a matte kind of styling. Because it's a brushed aluminium look on plastic, it looks okay from a distance, but from up close, you know, it starts to get cheap really fast. Now, other than that, you do have, if you can see, if I tilt sideways slightly, you can see that these bands do serve a purpose down the left and right side panels, both providing the ventilation to the grills on the inside side panels in the metal chassis. So those provide an actual function there, providing you with a little bit of ventilation. But other than that, on the front we've got our slot loading optical drive, 2 USB 3 headphone and microphone, and your power and reset, as well as your activity LEDs, are hidden down here quite well underneath there. And they are, if you can hear, if I can actually press them, they're clicky buttons. So that's that. Other than that, you do have a grill here, which if I lift the top panel off, you can see that it is a little bit of a different design, which they have said performs a similar function to the air penetrator AP123 grill design on those fans. So it performs a function where it essentially makes the fans quieter to the ear on side panels like this, where the panel is flat up against the fan, so where it's completely up without kind of a beveled gap between them. Other than that, if we turn the case over, you will notice on the bottom here you've got two 120mm fans there. Those will go underneath your graphics card, so you will be able to get a graphics card with two 120mm fans, but we will go into that a little bit when we go into the interior. And you will also have a hexagonal design grill here, which is not only hexagonal cut but also in a hexagonal shape, and that will serve as your power supply intake, which fits perfectly in line with SilverStone's ST45SF-G 450 watt gold rated power supply. So that's that. If we move around to the back, what you see is more hexagonal cut grills. This is the same on the interior for the side panels, which feature grills all the way down the side panels. So if you see in further upcoming systems, upcoming cases that use this interior design, they will take advantage of that even more potentially. But other than that, you've got your standard I/O socket here. I say socket, your standard I/O area here. You also have two full-length expansion slots there on this side, and we'll look into that in a minute, as well as your power plug, and that is because, as you saw, the power supply has been relocated to the front with its own dedicated intake. So let's change the angle a little. I'll spin the case round to the front again. Let's change the angle and let's have a look at the interior. Moving on to the inside of the case, what we have is our front panel connections here. They can all be removed. There is screws. There's two I/O kind of panel things, PCBs, that you can remove if you don't want to use them, I guess, but obviously you need your power and reset buttons. But you can remove them as you're building the system, technically, and then you can put them back in at the end. So they are kind of easily removed. But it's probably best to just leave them on. But you've got your cables there, which you can actually just fold outside the case and they stay there. Now I want to start with this area, and then we'll move around to this main focal point here, which is the combo cage. So around here we've got your SFX power supply mount, so you can fit SFX power supplies. Now SilverStone do make a 300, a 450 watt, a 450 watt gold power supply, and a 600 watt, which I'm not sure if it's on the market yet, but they are going to be coming out with a 600 watt if it's not out yet. They are also going to be bringing out a new form factor called SFX L, which is called SFX Long, which is its full name. Now, in terms of space here, what we're dealing with is 180 millimeters, which is actually the same as, I believe, the BitPhoenix Prodigy, which is twice the size of this case. So we're dealing with 180 millimeters of space. The average SFX power supply is 100 meters long. 100 meters, that's massive. 100 millimeters long. So you've got 8 centimeters of space to work with in terms of cables. And because there's this panel here, because there's this riser card here, and because the motherboard area is in its own location, perfect space to tie up cables that you're not using, to tie back cables that are too long, and essentially make the rest of the system really, really clean. So you've got 80 millimeters of space to tie up cables, and when they're bringing out the SFX-L power supplies, which are 130 millimeters long, you're already covered with still 50 millimeters of space. So that's 5 centimeters of space to work with. Like I said, even more than on the BitPhoenix Prodigy, which we had a lot of trouble with, even with ATX power supplies being, even just 140 millimeters long, for the smallest ones, that is. So that is that section. We also have a 3.5-inch hard drive mount here, as well as a 2.5-inch mount on this panel right there. We've also got two 2.5-inch mounts here. These two are the ones I would use. I would maybe use this 3.5-inch mount for a single drive, but as this is orientated towards HTPCs, I would tend to not use this and use something like a NAS instead, something that you can plug in externally away from this system and access from another point. Now, I don't particularly like it being up here, as it will impede on your cable management there, and I don't really like the 2.5-inch drive mount here because it does get in the way from where all of the cables will be going. It's just in the way, and I don't really like the fact that there might be some fragile connectors that are being pushed up against with the larger cables. So I don't particularly like this, and I don't particularly like this, but I am an advocate of putting 2.5-inch mounts wherever you can. So I'm not going to complain about this because it is something that I have preached from day one. Put them where you can, and someone will use them. So potentially, maybe they could have put one up here, which would have been my preferred option. Now, moving on from that, in fact, before we move on, this cage you do have to remove to mount your power supply, and it is removed by 4 screws and easily reassembled back in the case. Now, motherboard mounting area, this I do really like. It's got its own little area, with nothing else getting in its way. The power supply has its own area, the hard drives have their own area, the graphics card optical drive has its own area, as we'll get onto in a second, so there's nothing in the way. There's no cables, which other than if your cable management skills are awful, there's nothing that's getting in the way for airflow. Now this is perfect for if you're going to be going with air cooling, because you've got 83 millimeters of space to work with in terms of CPU cooler height. Now what they do is they actually offer, as you saw with the exterior, a 120 millimeter fan mount directly above the motherboard tray, and on Mini-ITX motherboard, it's almost as big as the motherboard. So what you can do is you can go with a tall low profile cooler up to 83 millimeters, or you can go with something really low profile, something like a 35 millimeter high, 40 millimeter high cooler, and then you can add a 25 millimeter full size 120 millimeter fan on here, give you that little bit extra airflow onto the smaller cooler, so the smaller cooler will perform better, as well as providing the entire motherboard with some cooling. And obviously you've got your grill here as your exhaust for this area. Now I'm going to walk around the camera so that I can talk about this cage area, which I want to focus on as the main component of this case. Now we've already discussed this 2.5 inch drive bays there. There's also a slim optical bay up here, as well as, if we take it out, there is 4 screws here and 2 screws on the metal portion, so it's quite easy to remove. On the underside, that's where you attach your graphics card. Now there's a couple of features that we'll get into in a second, which I'll want to actually take the case away and focus on. But essentially what you do is you put all of these components in, all of the 2.5 inch SSDs and the optical drive and everything. You put your graphics card in, tighten that up, and then you could take this, plug all your cables in, and then just plug it in as if it were just a graphics card. Now what I like about this is it's 4 components put into 1 component. That's the general use of having a cage. Now what does this mean? It means that you can put all of them components in at once, so that you can put your motherboard in, focus on your motherboard there, connect your motherboard stuff up, your cables and everything, with all of this space here to work with. There's nothing impeding on your workspace, your work area there, and then you focus on this and you add literally almost all of the other components of the system in at once. Now I really like that. Not only do you get that, but I'm not sure if I've actually discussed this already, you have the 2 fan mount there, so you can mount 2 120 millimeter fans underneath the graphics card, which means that even though this is a Mini-ITX case, you are not going to get better cooling other than if you were to go with water cooling. You're not going to get better air cooling out of any system ever than you will for your graphics card in this system. No full-size ATX case, for that matter, will have your graphics card with 2 120mm fans blowing directly onto it, directly in the direction that the cooler will actually take advantage of. But if you don't want to go with the graphics card, if that's not the route that you're going to go in, you can take this out, remove this riser card, and just use it for SSDs and optical drive mounts, and then it is quite slim, as you can see. And then you can actually use this as a 240mm radiator mount for your CPU. So if you do want to go with a water cooling setup and you don't want to go with a graphics card, perfect setup there for you. It's still going to be sort of compartmentalized away from the motherboard, and then you can still have a 120mm fan blowing down on the motherboard to give that that area, it's dedicated cooling still. So let's move on to this cage, and I'll focus on a couple of features this has, and then we'll go on to some of the accessories that come with the case. Okay, so here we've got the bracket, the kind of 4-in-1 bracket, I suppose you could call it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these I/O kind of grills, or the expansion. I don't even know what you actually call them anymore. They're just them things that you get so used to having, you forget what they're called. So I'm going to remove them, and then I'm going to show you how you install a graphics card, which is something that you won't get through the written review. So in the box here, which is off camera, it comes with this product, which I'll get out, which is like it's a riser card for the riser card. So what you do with this is you plug this onto the end of your graphics card, or onto the port on the graphics card. So then you've got a really long connection on the graphics card, and then you plug this into, I'm trying to do this and look at the camera at the same time so that you can actually see. You plug that, if I can get it all the way into the graphics card there, so into the cage there. So then that's connected, and it's the right height for the case. So what we're going to do is we're going to just put one screw back in. I'll put this one in, bottom one. So you've got that. So that is technically enough for it to be in this cage. But SilverStone don't think that. SilverStone don't think that's good enough. So they supply these, which I'll get out and show you. These are two L-shaped brackets with rubber things that you can add in to give you that little bit of extra protection for your graphics card. And what you do, depending on the height or length or fan layout of your graphics card, you mount this one onto the back here where you can see the holes. You might have been wondering about that already. You mount that. I think we'll mount this one, not there, there. So you put it in, you screw it in from the back, and then, I'll try and do this without having to actually screw it in. You can put the rubber protectors on here. Then you slide this on, make sure it's tight, and then screw it in from the top. So then what you have is a bracket which will hold it from below to stop it from bending under its own stress under the stress of its own weight. So they're actually protecting your card and your product more than you would get from a standard case. So you're not only getting better cooling, but you're getting better protection for the actual board and card and everything itself, so that you won't end up with a completely bent card. So that is one of the features, the special feature to do this cage that I really like. So let's move on to the case feet, which are another thing to mention. So finally, the final point that I want to cover is the fact that it does come with a SilverStone badge, which you can add if you want, or if you don't want to add, you don't have to. But also, it's not actually on the case because they give you two options in terms of how you orientate the case. So if you're going to orientate it this way, you do get 4 bald feet, kind of like half a sphere, and you can put them on the bottom in the layout that you want. I'm not really sure how you would lay out them other than in each corner. Maybe a good idea for SilverStone would be to kind of engrave some little markings in for the perfect kind of places for them to be. That might be a good idea, but they don't do that. But if you want to orientate it this way, you can do. well, if you want, you can just have it standing there. That always works. It's not falling, so I don't see if I don't see any problem with you doing that. But you get these feet, which you can push in. They're actually quite hard to push in, which means that they'll be hard to take off as well. If I can actually get it in. There, we've got one. Forgotten to take the side panel, put the side panel back off. I'll try and get the other one in. But you get the picture. There's two on that side. Let's flip it over. I nearly dropped the case there. Kind of worried. Let's push this one in. I don't want those ones to fall out. I don't want to pull them ones out. Okay, so that one's in now. And this final one, if I can get that in. There, so we've got 4 feet. 4 rubber feet, I might add, which mean that it's very, very sturdy. And it won't move. So you can orientate it however you want. You've got the badge so that if you are going to orientate it this way, you can still have it horizontal, so that it doesn't look weird. They've really thought of everything when it comes to this case, and I do like that. In terms of cooling, a case this size, you're not going to get much better. You know what, I'll just leave them in. I'll take this one out and I'll leave the rest in. But you're not going to get much better in terms of cooling, you're not going to get much better in terms of actual potential of the interior design of this case. That being said, I'm not a fan at all of the front panel, I'm not a fan at all of the exterior design, and it really let me down. But that being said, SilverStone are known for taking these interior designs and using them on a whole host of cases. So this isn't the only one, as we've already discussed. There's the RV-Z01, there is also going to be the ML08 coming out, this is the ML07, and there will be a Fortress one, the FT-Z01 coming out as well, which is an all-in-one unibody aluminium design on the exterior. So this received our bronze award with 79 out of 100 in terms of our rating. You can check out the full review for a detailed analysis, detailed description of the ratings that it received in each individual category. But yeah, it fell short by 1 point for our silver award, and that is because it has an absolutely outstanding interior, but it fell short because of the exterior design and a few other reasons. So yeah, that is our video review on SilverStone's ML07 case. This is a HTPC Mini-ITX case. If you want to check out the full video, full written review, or just the unboxing video, you can check those out. Links will be down below. Please also head over to the HalTech website, where you can check out all the other reviews that we've done, all the other unboxings and overviews that we've done. You can also check out our footage from Intel's UK networking event that we recently attended, as well as our Project Prodigy, which is our Prodigy based test bench project that we did not too long ago as well. So all of that is on the website, you can check that out. I'm Hal Thompson, you've been watching another HalTech TV video. Please don't forget to subscribe, head over to the website and bookmark it, and goodbye.